Okay. Ai Sharanagata Vairi Vadhuvara Veeravara Dayakare Tribhuvana Mastaka Shula Virodhi Shirodhi Kritamala Shula Kare Dumi Dumi Tamara Dundu Bhinada Maho Mukhari Krita Digma Kare Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramya Kapardini Shaila Sute. Okay. So, in the previous verse, she drove away or destroyed Shumbha Nishubha. You remember, when we closed the previous week, we said Shumbha Nishubha tried to approach her with arrogance, that I want you, you become mine, right? With arrogance. Now, Devi will become ours, not in that approach. When we approach Devi with sense of devotion and surrender, then she becomes that. Why is that the case? Why is it that if I go and conquer something, it may not when the difference between conquering by force and letting it come to you through means of inclusion, what is the difference between the two? The difference is that whenever we want something by force, we want to conquer something, and it's the smallest way. Even in the household, we try to do that with our own family members, our own people, where if we have a little dominance, we try to do that. We try to conquer. Conquer means we want whatever needs to happen by force a lot of times. And why is that not suitable? And why is it shown that Shumbha Nishubha get destroyed by her? Is because anything that is conquered or taken in by force, the problem is the one who is taking something by force will always use it as a tool. And he takes it by force, or she takes it by force or conquers it for a need, for a purpose. Not necessarily need, for a purpose. The individual wants that particular object, thing, person, whatever. That act of conquering essentially will not sustain, because the person who's conquering, the person's intention is to use that towards a certain purpose. And so that object or that thing, that person, that entity will not flourish on its own. It will never be allowed to flourish. But when you go with the sense of inclusion, that I want this in my life, but I want it in an organic way. I want it in a way that it naturally comes to me. It gets drawn to me, which means I make myself in a way that this gets drawn to me. And then when that comes to you, you will see that devotion, that surrender, that love, when it comes with that, it will stay with us much longer, and it will also be there will be a symbiotic relationship, and you will also benefit from that in the longer term, because there is no conflict there. There is no conflict, and that entity will also flourish on its own. It will also grow, and it will also blossom happily, joyfully. And so there will be that engagement which will be mutually symbiotic. So that is the difference between, because we can always obtain things by force. See, a lot of times children are also tuned to that kind of grabbing things that they want. It's a natural tendency, because it's an animal tendency. You want something, you go take it, right? It's an animal tendency. But what we are doing is we're trying to become a little more humane by saying that I don't want to grab it, because I know if I grab it, when the purpose is served for me, it will start then causing me suffering. The same substance, the same object, the same person, the same whatever thing that I desired for and I took it by force can cause me suffering. Look at Ravana's case, right? The classic example. He took it by force, took Sita by force, and he had to suffer. He had to suffer means he had to give up his kingdom, his life, his sons, everybody died. His brothers died. So much of destruction and suffering, right? Why? Because he took it by force. I'm not saying if he would have asked Sita differently, she would have come. It's not that. But at least there is no violence and conflict there. So that is the Shumbha Nishumbha story. Then she goes and says, Ai Sharanagata Vairi Vadhuvara. So in this, so that was the Shumbha Nishumbha was the 5th verse, right? Where we want to learn to be transact in the world in a more inclusive way. In a way, we, of course, we have to demand what we want. We have to ask. All of that is there. But we have to know the line to draw when it gets into violence due to dominance, due to my privilege, that am I dominating or am I causing violence or conflict? This is something that we need to process. Again, this is very different situations, different transactions in life. We have to just think about it, because life is not just this life that we are born into, correct? There is basic fundamental. I think there must be agreement that this is not the only lifetime that we are born into. We've obviously had several lifetimes before, and we will have a few more, or how many ever more, we don't know. We will have several more later. So always bringing that bigger picture in the mind when we act or try to possess or obtain something, we should try to have that sensitivity a little bit. Think about the bigger picture, the larger term. If this that I'm going to take by a certain level of violence and conflict and force, will it sustain me? Will it give me the benefit and the joy and the peace and whatever that I'm seeking for in the long term, right? So that is the important story with these two gentlemen. Okay. Then that is Shumbha Nishumba. Then comes the next one, which is Ai Sharanagata Vairi Vadhuvara Veera Varabhaya Dayakare Tribhuvanamastaka Shula Virodhi Shirodhi Kritamala Shula Kare. Quickly just explain at a high level what the words would mean here. Ai Sharanagata Vairi Vadhuvara. O mother, who take the wives of your Vairi Vadhuvara. Vairis are enemies. Your enemies who are killed by you, their wives come and surrender to you. You take them in. Veera Vara Abhaya Dayakare. You give them Vara Abhaya. You give them Vara Abhaya. Dayakare. You give them that. Tribhuvanamastaka Shula Virodhi Shirodhi Kritamala Shula Kare. The one who stands up against the Shula. We will look at what is Shula, etc. You rid them of their arrogance, you cut them off, and you release them from this. In a way, it is suffering. Somebody who's opposing something out of compulsion is also a certain kind of suffering. So you remove them of that suffering. Dumi tamara dundu bhinada. So dumi tamara is the sound, or the dundubhi is an instrument. So the nada that comes from dundubhi is dumi, the sound. That sound comes out, and this is an instrument that is used by the suras, the devas. Mahomukari krita digmakare. So the sound spreads around in all directions. Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini. Ramya Kapardini Shailasute. Okay, so this is kind of the verse that we're looking at today. So how does it go? Ai Sharanagata Vairi Vadhuvara. So now Devi has killed asuras. Okay, there's an interesting meaning of the word suras also that I heard. See, sura is generally the devatas are called as suras, and asuras are the ones who oppose the devatas. Sur also means music, tune, right? Sur means the tune. So sura are the ones who are in tune or in tune with the creator, the creation, and dharma. That is why they are called suras. So when we are in tune with the dharma, with the inner voice, there is no conflict. When there is no conflict, we are suras. When there is conflict in us, you will always see that conflict will have a sura and an asura. There will be an aspect of me that will say that I want to do this, I want to go in this way. There will be an aspect that will create the conflict. That's the asura. And this asura operates at different levels. So something like a Devi Bhagavatam has been created to extol the different kinds of asuras that are there at various levels. So these Vairi Vadhuvara are so now Devi kills the asuras. When she kills the asuras' wives, they come and seek refuge. When they come and seek refuge, she gives them refuge. He doesn't say that, since you are his wife, you may have ulterior motives, you may come and try to kill me. All of that. So all that nonsense is not there. It's very simple. And why that is an okay thing? Because again, in this context, she is Devi. So Devi is able to do that because she is able to deal with any kind of opposition. So even if the wives of the asuras come, but the important thing is they have offered their allegiance, they have offered their surrender, their devotion. So in life also for us, there'll be a lot of times there may be people who will come and kind of offer their allegiance to us. They'll say, I'll be your friend, I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you, all of that. So there'll be people who will come. Now, how do you read this? Which means, how do you take this in life? Do I trust these people or do I not trust? And a lot of people you will see, many people you generally talk to will say that, oh, nambi mosam paite. I have trusted and I have lost. I have trusted that such and such a person will never do this to me, but the person did this to me. I trusted this person, I helped him so much, and the same person turned around and did this to me, right? So we will have situations of this kind where we don't know who to trust. But in fact, it should never be a problem because we should not evaluate, we should just be vulnerable. In my opinion, if someone is out there to make a fool of you, and if we hold on to Devi, if we hold on to some inner strength, inner power, or the Guru, or Krishna, whatever, we hold on to that, whatever that comes in the form of a cheat or a deceit will not stay long also. Because what counts there is our intention. When we have done something with the right intention to someone, In the short term, it may seem like they've cheated you. Suppose you give asylum to somebody, comes, stays home because he's something, they're not able, it's probably raining, a storm or something, somebody is stuck on the outside, you don't know, it's a stranger, you happen to give him an asylum, and then he probably steals your stuff away, right? In the morning, he's leaving, he leaves a thank you note and takes half your wealth. It's possible, right? People have experienced such deceit. The problem that will happen is the next time somebody comes seeking assistance or asylum, they will not allow them in, because once bitten, twice shy. So now they've been bitten, they've had a bad experience, and they will not trust anybody. People have this problem of trust with most other people, because we always think that the other person is out to get me in some way or the other. Everybody thinks like this. Okay, you look at this, it's very interesting. Everybody thinks that the other person is doing this because he's got something underneath, he has got something else going on, he wants to do this to me, take that away from me, this, that. So if we process all that, we will never be able to engage in a symbiotic transaction in the world at all, ever. We'll never be able to do that. The only way is to be vulnerable. And of course, not be stupid, right? We are not talking about being stupid. Find a way to do what you need to do, but also make sure there is a certain level of compassion that we display. And which is why I always mention compassion, remember, is not a weakness. We should always see compassion as a strength. Compassion is one of the first things a spiritual sadhaka must develop. Otherwise, we will end up judging other people, making comments about this thing, or saying that I am greater, I am better, you are not. Or you go to the other side. We will say, he saw this thing, she saw this thing, I am not. In both of these cases, you have to either be compassionate with the world, be compassionate with yourself. Compassion in all forms is a strength, because then it allows you to experience the subtle nuances of creation, the subtle beauties of creation. Otherwise, you will just be dealing with the animal instincts, which is to preserve yourself, to protect yourself. Your defenses will always be up. So we want to bring down the defenses. We spoke about the defenses also, I think, during Naga Panchami. We have to bring down our defenses and be a little vulnerable. It's okay. Somebody is making a little bit of a fool of me. That's all right. My intentions are never, because you understand this. We don't know the kind of things that we have done in the past, right? We may think we've lived a great and a pious and a very ideal life, but we don't know the kind of things we've done in the previous lives, whatever. So something will present itself in some form or the other. But we have to bring ourselves to a place where Rabindranath Tagore, beautiful example, just occurred to me. Rabindranath Tagore, there's an anecdote about him. He was writing, whatever, probably Gitanjali, God knows. He was a writer, right? So he was writing. It was late into the night and a thief breaks into his house. And then he notices the thief breaking into his house. And he continues to write. He is not perturbed or disturbed by it. And then the thief goes around, looks around and all of that. And then probably he picks up a few things. Because Rabindranath Tagore lived like a sannyasi pretty much, right? Then he asks him, while writing, he asks him, you found what you're looking for? And then the thief is startled. Ayo, this guy knows of my presence. Then he comes and looks at him and say, I know you have a compulsion to steal, because you've probably learned that is the only way to, that is your livelihood. That's your only way for your livelihood. So you're stealing. So pick up whatever, but just leave my books alone. Don't touch my books, because these are, I'm going to use it for something. So he has a conversation with this guy in that way. And then that guy falls at his feet and then he goes out. He himself feels ashamed, right? So, of course, I'm not saying that that'll be the case at all times, right? We see violence all around us. People, how they snatch and cut and take things away and all that. It's gory. You have to respond to it, react to it. But the only thing is, we keep our lives in a way that we protect ourselves not so much through fear. We protect ourselves through our sadhana. We do our prayers, if you create a house which has a certain level of energy through our sadhana, through the practices, through the dhyana, through meditation, through japa, dhyana, nama sankirtana, whatever we create through chants, we create that energy. That energy will be in a way that it will not allow these mishaps to happen. Right? You'll probably not hear such mishaps happening also to such sadhakas and such spiritual people. So two ways. One is you build the energy, we do our sadhana in a way that it creates a protective shield. We are not trying to create protection around us. We are not increasing our defenses. We are doing what we need to do for our own inner growth and development. A protective shield develops around us. You understand? So that is the difference. It will develop, and such things may not happen. That is one. The second thing is, even if it happens, some close friend or somebody deceives us, let's not carry that vairitvam, that enmity within us. Right? That's okay. There was a need. One way I have learned to see the world is, everybody has some need, even if he's behaving in a very, at least people who come across to us, right? We're not talking about extreme situations of terrorists attacking, gunshots and all that. We're not talking about those things. We're talking about general transactions. And if you happen to be in a situation of that kind, it's very unfortunate. We just have to, again, the only thing that you can hold on to is the Lord's name, right? But in a regular transaction in our lives, I have seen it's always the person who is also out to kind of downplay you, do something. It's always good to think about that person as Ayyo Pavam. He is doing it out of some compulsion. He's turned negative, he's turned crooked, he's turned cunning. She has turned cunning out of some compulsion, some bad experiences. Maybe enough good experiences or some good satsanga comes into that person's life. Maybe that person will change. Maybe that person will start looking at things better. Why a lot of people do these things, cunning and crooked things, is also because those are animal tendencies. They want to take more because there is a fear. So, how is Devi here? Ai Sharanagata Vairi Vadhuvara. So, all the enemies' wives, they come and take refuge, and she gives them refuge. Veeravara Bhaya Daya Kare. So she gives them Abhaya and Varada. So this is the the Abhaya Mudra and the Varada Mudra, right? So she gives them both whatever they wish for, which means she takes care of them. And she tells, since you've come into my refuge, do not fear. I'll make sure nobody bothers you. Vara Abhaya Daya Kare. Then Tribhuvana Mastaka Shula Virodhi. Shirodhi Kritamala Shula Kare. Okay. Tribhuvana Mastaka. See, Tribhuvana Mastaka, Shula Virodhi, Shirodhi Kritamala. Shirodhi Kritamala Shula Kare. So, in a nutshell, whoever opposes the Tribhuvana Mastaka. So Tribhuvana Mastaka can be seen in a few ways, but whoever opposes, she destroys them with the Shula. Okay. Tribhuvana Mastaka, you can look at it as Shiva. the Lord of the three worlds, who's also the master of the Trishula. And she who stands up against him, she destroys him with the Shula. Okay, this is one way of looking at it. But the other way of looking at it is, our Mastaka exists in three realms, right? Whatever, any kind of Triputi that you see, Tribhuvana, we are in three realms. One realm, the three realms could be the elemental realm, Bhuloka, the realm of light, Bhuvarloka, the realm of sound, Suvarloka. These are three realms. Another realm is, correct, Mastaka is head. So Mastaka is Tribhuvana. The Mastaka resides in three levels or three stages or three realms. So first is elemental, light, sound. The other is Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. And then one is the physical, the astral or the subtle, and the subtlest. Okay. So the mind operates at three levels, which means there are three levels of subtlety. From the gross to subtle, you can largely construct it into, if subtlest is the highest level and physical is the grossest, then you have a level in between. That's all, right? From the grossest to the subtlest, the mind goes through three stages: the grossest, the medium, which is between the gross and the subtle, and the subtlest, right? So the Sthula Sukshma, correct. That is also another way of looking at Sthula Sukshma Karana. But that is more in terms of Sharira. We are talking about Mastaka, where the mind operates at these levels, right? And you can also look at it as another way of looking at Tribhuvana Mastaka is the one who is the Lord of the three worlds, which can also be taken as Devendra. Indra. Indra is the Lord of senses. So you can also see it as the Karmendriya, the Jnanendriya, and the Antakarana. The Karmendriya are faculties, Jnanendriya are faculties, and the Antakarana is the mind. Tribhuvana. So what is about this Tribhuvana Mastaka? Tribhuvana Mastaka Shula Virodhi. So one is those who are opposing this Tribhuvana Mastaka Shula. What she does is she cuts their head. Shiro dhi krita mala shula kare. So she cuts their head with her shula. Okay. Shula, another meaning is grief. It is also grief. So Shula Virodhi means she is against or opposed to grief, or she removes grief in our Mastaka, which means at all the levels of our consciousness, all the planes of our consciousness, at all levels of our existence or operation, she removes grief. Shula Virodhi. She is the Virodhi of Shula. That is another way of looking at it, right? So what happens in the first line? You see, she's giving asylum to the remnants of the war. Okay, there is war that has occurred. She kills all and removes all the negativities and the asuras. Whatever is remaining, she protects it and gives it vara abhaya. It could be things, it could be people. She doesn't harm those. And she removes the grief. Because what will these wives, for example, in this context, what will the wives carry? Even if she is given her Sharanagati, they will carry grief, right? that my husband was killed. I lived with him for so many beautiful years. We had so many children. All of this we had, and he is killed. So grief will be there. One of the things that I've heard, very beautiful, saying that never make a decision in grief. Never make a decision in grief. You will almost always make a wrong decision. Because your mind and your head is definitely not in the right place. Of course, the same thing with anger, hatred, all of those. These emotions are very strong. When you have those strong emotions, it's better not to act. But more so with grief. Because grief is also illusory. See, if you look at it, when you're grieving, when somebody comes, somebody can take advantage of you. Remember this. People think it's nice to go and tell people their woes. And tell that, Ayo, na so pavam, Ayo, I am this like this, Ayo, I had like this, this happened to me, that happened to me. People think that you express your woes, you gain energy from others. And you want people to come and, in our mind somewhere, we want people to recognize that, oh, pavam. This person is pavam. So when this happens, and when we allow ourselves, through grief, we make ourselves vulnerable, almost always we will get used. We spoke about being vulnerable earlier. Vairi Vadhuvara, in that we said that how it is, we have to be open with trust. That vulnerability is the right kind of vulnerability. The vulnerability that you generate through grief is not right. Because it will put you in a position where you yourself later will probably regret the decisions that you made. And grief is such that it is so empowering. Actually, look at this. Grief is so empowering. It will make you feel that you're making the right decision, and it will feel very justified. It will feel extremely justified. And if we are a sadhaka, if we are a true sadhaka, if we want to spend our lives in Bhagavad Chintanam, if we want to spend our lives in spiritual sadhana, remove grief out of our lives. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These are the 6 ripus that anyways we are working with. Very importantly, grief. Because grief gives you a justification that you have been wronged. Grief gives you a justification that Ambal doesn't know how to run this world. She has done something utterly unfair with you. Bhagavan doesn't know to run this world. I have been wronged. Given to me, I would run it better. He doesn't understand. I have been wronged and I have been meted out unfair outcomes or circumstances. This is what we are saying. This is the narrative in the head. Very important to observe ourselves during these times when we are grieving. Grief could be when somebody is taken away from us. Grief could be when somebody deceives us. Grief could be when somebody goes away from us. Goes away means taken away first. Taken away means dies. The other grief is when somebody goes away, means there is a huge difference, fight, and they go away. So grief sets in. And when grief sets in, your mind will start justifying your actions. This is where all of the sadhana that you pick up will come handy. All of these reminders that you keep on yourself. If you're wearing a Rudraksha, that is a reminder. If you're wearing a Kada, that is a reminder. You're wearing some kind of a kaire or a thread on your wrist, that is a reminder. These reminders are important to hold you when you go through these kind of things where the mind is creating a justification to substantiate your position. Yes, I am grieving and it is right to feel this, and yes, I should feel either this hatred or I should feel anger. From grief rises anger. Notice this. From grief will rise anger. From desire rises anger. Kamat krodho bhijayate, Bhagavad Gita says. But from grief also anger will rise. From grief also hatred will rise. So Shula Virodhi, extremely important to remove grief. Whenever grief comes, see, life is not fair. Okay, we have to write this maybe in the board, in the door, in our cell phone, put it as a label. In whatever books we have, write it at the top. On the Om and under Om write life is not fair. Keep looking at it every day, because life is not fair and life is not meant to be fair. Fairness is a psychological problem that we have created. Life, there is only existence. There is dharma, there is existence. There is no fairness or unfairness. You go to the Masamari jungles, Kailash would have gone, right? Tanzania and Kenya. You go to the jungles there. What is fair? You will see animals will, you'll see 5-10 hyenas, right, Kailash?
And we'll be in the cage.
We'll be. That's the best part. We'll be in the cage. We are the caged ones there. And those animals, if you see, there'll be nothing fair there. Then Masimara, is it? Masimara. So there, if you see, there'll be 5 hyenas eating into a wildebeest. Wildebeest looks like a large grown cow or a deer. No, it looks like a little bit of a deer. It's got a deer face. It's a large animal, and there are 5 hyenas that will eat into it alive. In these videos, if you watch, it's like really, oh my God, it'll be like that. This is one video I happened to see. I think my brother had gone and he showed. No, my brother had gone. He showed this. He showed how the hyenas eating of the intestine of the wildebeest while it's trying to walk away. It's just torn the stomach, the intestine had fallen out, and it's trying to eat. Now, what is fair in this? Yo. Exactly. So, so say, yo, God, why did you create like this? It's important as a realization to understand that life is not fair. Right? Of course, we're not wanting to be in the experience of violent things. But we're saying understand that don't run behind fairness in world. Nobody will come and keep patting your back all the time. Nobody will come and keep saying, wow, 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 you did great, you did great, you did great. This thing you made, oh, super. Oh, this thing, oh, super, super. Nobody will keep telling you super all their life. Even the greatest thing that you did, somebody will come and say, yeah. You have to deal with it. And the person to whom you did that with a lot of love and affection and devotion and all that, the same person may come and say, and then you'll say, how much ever I do, it is not enough for you. We always seek fairness. Fairness is only in those face creams. What ad is that?
Fair and lovely.
Fair, fair and lovely. Fair and lovely. So that is the only place you can look for fairness. I don't know if it gives it too, but
वो
anywhere
भी
else,
ad के लिए. It's only
that is
for the
also,
ad, huh?
that's also for the ad only. So fairness, we are talking about Shula Virodhi, Shirodhi Kritamala, Shula Kare. So if we surrender to her, Shirodhi Kritamala, so she will make a mala of the heads that are opposing this, that are opposing. Kritamala Shula Kare. So one who holds the Shula in her hand, Kara is hand, Shula Kare is one who holds the Shula, Trishula, trident in her hand. Shula is, Eka Shula is also Shula, Trishula is also Shula. Okay. Spear is also a Shula, trident is also a Shula. In whichever way, she holds that and she removes those things that stand against our Tribhuvana Mastaka. Because we need to ensure that our minds, the Mastaka is always in the right place. Because that is what is leading us in our life. Remember that. We are not like animals, right? Unfortunately, we are not like animals. Because in animals, they don't have to think. They just have to respond instinctively. But we are human beings. For whatever reason we have evolved, we have come to this place. And we can say that, Ayo, I didn't ask for this. So be it. Tathastu. Next Janma maybe. But there is a natural sense of evolution that is there. All we are saying is stop looking at life as being unfair and stop looking at everything as suffering being meted out to you. That is all we are saying. Try to look for the joy and beauty in things. If we keep ourselves in that place, then what will we hear? Dumi dumi tamara dundu bhinada maho mukhari krita digma kare. So then the sound of the Dundubhi nada, the nada of the Dundubhi instrument, dimi dimi. So that dimi dimi tamara. So that sound that it makes will be heard in all directions. Digma kare. Mukhari krita. Mukhari krita means it makes your in 4 directions. 4 directions will be able to sense this nada. And what is this nada? This nada is the sound of silence that is existing in creation. Which means Adi Shankara composed this stotra. He says dimi dimi. So maybe dimi dimi is a bijakshara. And we chant that and we get access to that nada. And that nada is what we need to tune ourselves to. And then what do we become? We become suras. Then we are suras. Then we are in tune, in sur, in music, in the right tune with everything that is around us. So this nada, that is Dundubhi nada, is what we should aspire to experience. And slowly, which is where we said the Tribhuvana Mastaka, it starts moving from physical to less gross to more subtle. And the more subtle we move, our desire, our want, our need, our aspiration to hold on to or look for grosser things reduces. Right? Like the small sparrow, it can fly probably just up to 10 stories or 15 stories high. But an eagle will never come down even to that level. Eagle flies from the top, it just swoops down and then goes back up. It swoops down for what? For transaction alone. Just for sustenance, it's swooping down. So can we be like that? We just swoop down for transaction to sustain in this world. We swoop down for transaction and then again go back. Right? If we keep our Tribhuvana Mastaka above the Tribhuvana, which means also in a way to look at it is you keep yourself in a state higher than all this, the creative, the creation essentially, and keep ourselves higher than that. The Turiya Avastha of Mandukya Upanishad, the Turiya Avastha, Jagrat Swapna Sushupti, Turiya. If we keep ourselves, our Mastaka in the Turiya, then we will hear what Dundubhinada, the sound of that beautiful instrument that the Devatas play. We will be able to listen to that sound. It's not like the music that we will listen to. The sound is not like that. This is the sound that when you go out into an open space or you walk into the woods, when you're in a natural environment, there is silence. You will hear silence in a certain way. You'll hear that silence. And that silence will be extremely recharging. It will resonate with you. Why do we feel peaceful when we go to the ocean side or the sea, sit by the waves, or you go to the mountains or look at the mountains? Why do we feel that peace and joy and something resonates with us? That nada, that sound, the primordial sound that is there, that is naturally resonating with us. And it offers us that peace and joy and bliss. Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramya Kapardini Shailasute. Oh, beautiful haired one. Jata. Her Jata, just visualize Devi as this huge thing. Whenever we see the clouds, I mean, unfortunately in Dubai you can't see clouds. But if you can, wherever you are, if you can visualize when there are dark clouds, visualize that is like the Jata of Devi. Right? That is the Kapardi. She is Kapardini. The one who holds the Jata, the Kapardi. So visualize it that way, and they say with every line or every verse, you think of her and you think that, through that Jata we are connecting to her. Jata can also be used, long hair, Jata can also be used as a medium to connect with Devi. In fact, for yogis, the Jata holds a lot of energy. That is why they tie it up and keep it up like a bun and things like that. Or they tie a turban around it, because it holds a lot of energy of their sadhana. The whole sadhana energy is locked up, tied up there. So Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini, the one who removes Mahisha from within me, glory to her. Ramya Kapardini, beautiful Jata. Adhikaga, a lot of times we can also think of this Jata, they have not taken bath for what? Taken shower for about 10, 15, 20 years. Only then you can form a Jata. So maybe it will be stinking, it will be smelly, it will be, I don't know how it will feel to touch. So Shankara is saying it is Ramya Kapardini. It is a beautiful hair. It is beautiful Jata. Shaila Sute. Oh, the daughter of Himalaya mountains. Daughter of the mountains. Okay. So we'll pause here today with that. And happy Varalakshmi Nombu to all mummies and ladies here. Om Ayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana va Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayeti Samarpayami Sadashivayeti Samarpayami Jagadambikaye iti Samarpayami Sadgurunathayeti Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namah. Gurudeva. Hari Om.